The hell? Hey, ha! Hey, look at this. Everybody, it's a brand new hoodie that I'm going to wear 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 days in a row because I bathe appropriately and I wear this special hoodie when I go out and only when I'm sitting here. So it's just not like a stinking all the time. I got 2 or 3 of these things and they look identical. So you're not going to be able to tell the difference. Everyone's like, he always wears the same thing. Right, assholes. I have OCD. I can't help it. It is what it is. Okay, get over it. We'll be fine. All right. Hey, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is the 89th episode. 2 more until episode 100. I cannot believe it. Boy, has this year flown. It feels like it was just August when we were like at 0. We were, but that's what happens when you it looks borrowed. It is. I borrowed it from there was a guy that had his back door unlocked. I borrowed it. He was the same size. It was good. You know, there's 2 of us this size in Muncie. Mike Jones, thank you for the hoodie. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So we have a big show for this evening. Last night, we had Brando on. Brandon and I talked about what's going on at the State House. But yesterday morning, the Delaware County Council met. And I kind of thought that the meeting was going to be like 30 minutes, ho-hum, in and out, no issue, and everything was going to be done. I didn't go. I was like just going to watch it from home, and I was kind of going to get some things done. And then instantly we just started having some problems, and then some more problems, and then some surprises started happening, and then some more surprises started happening, and more surprises, and I thought, oh my God, this is actually becoming a thing. The last council meeting of the year, and they make it a thing. They make it a thing. So I said, hey, I can't do this alone. We needed to talk to America's councilman, and he's here. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me back on. Good to be
no
here.
problem.
I felt it necessary to come on and on behalf of the council and explain ourselves.
On behalf of the council. They will love
kidding.
that. You're going to be in trouble for that one.
Yeah, let me get the disclaimer out. Everything I say represent my views and my views only. I do not represent the council nor anyone on the council. By the way, I can't see anybody's comments. Unlike Chris, I don't have lots of monitors. I just got my cell phone. So if you put a comment in and I don't address it, it's not because I didn't want to answer it. I don't see them.
It's we hid them from him. So what we'll do is Kate's doing the number one, monitoring the comments. I've also got them over here. If there's something big that happens that we're not talking about, Kate will star it and we'll come back around to it. And generally with Ryan, there's a lot of stars or a lot of comments. So at the very end for anything that is starred, and we will get through it. And then, as always, at the end of this, if there's something that we somehow missed, Ryan can go back through and look. I don't know that he's ever shied away from answering something, so we're not going to purposefully try to miss something. We will make sure that he gets all of the questions if possible. Most of them, you guys know how it is. Most of them go up on the screen, so if there's something big, we'll put it up on the screen. But yeah, we'll get them all to you. So, generally the last meeting of the year is kind of like a nothing kind of deal. Like, did you think that this was going to be, what was your interpretation of what yesterday's meeting was going to be like?
Well, I went in with the expectation that it was going to be fairly routine and fairly simple also, because what people don't realize is in our December meetings, it's not like the other meetings throughout the year. We don't do appropriations. And what appropriations are is when a department head comes and requests money from us, and we give it to them, we appropriate it. All we do in December, for the most part, is transfers. So if a department head has an extra 300 in this account, 1,000 in this account, whatever it may be, they usually find something, some shiny object they'd like to get purchased. They didn't have in their budget. They take up all their money at the end of the year that they've saved, and they said, hey, how about, can I get this new copier or a new computer, whatever it is. I was trying to steer away from that this year. I'd actually planned on saying no to all of those requests, but like often happens, once I got in there, and got the feedback from the department heads, almost all of them were pretty legitimate requests. Copiers are at the end of their life, things like that. So that's what was expected. Now, I knew there was going to be a little bit more because we were doing our board and committee appointments. One of the big things that I've been trying to push since I've been on the council is to get more inclusion from the community to be involved in boards and committees. When I first got on, we'd go into a meeting. Next thing you know, the president says, hey, we're going to vote for these boards and committee seats. Looks like nobody put in for them. And all the people who are there want to be reappointed. So that's what we did. So I want to make it my mission to educate people and say, hey, guys, these seats are coming open. Put your name in the hat. And we've been very successful at that. We've got more and more people every year. And this year was no different. So what we were doing yesterday was going to make our board and committee appointments. One of the other things we did is we put it in our rules that we advertise it in October now, give you 2 months, and then we actually vote on it in December. It's part of our council rules. So that was something cool that we've done. This is the first year that we've really gotten into it and got a chance to do it. So I was expecting that. What threw me off was when I got there, the room was full. I didn't really expect that many people. Now, some of them were there to be considered for board and committee seats, but a lot of them were there in opposition to solar, which kind of caught me off guard because we weren't discussing anything with solar that day. So, but it's good to see them show up and keep the pressure on us. But you know what's unique and funny, what you're saying about this meeting is only the people who pay attention even think that there is some issues. If the average person watching, they wouldn't have thought anything at all. They just thought just a council meeting went on by.
Well,
looked pretty okay.
So that's the thing is, if you're just a casual observer of what goes on, and you might tune into maybe a city council meeting here, maybe a Delaware County Commissioner council meeting here, it would have looked like any other council meeting. And that's exactly right. And normally what happens is and we've talked about this a couple times, you guys would normally go in, or sometimes they have done it where you guys have went in at the beginning of the year and you have a special meeting, and that's normally after an election, and like you did it your first year on, and they have to do the board appointments. But because you guys put this in the rules and you've advertised it, you were able to do this, it makes more sense to do it the way that you guys did it yesterday. And I think that that's an appropriate way to handle it, and it should always be done that way. I thought it was clean, and it makes sense to do that. That way people know what's going on, because your meeting unlike city council and a lot of other things, your guys' meeting is always the last of the month in county council. So if you got having it that way, it makes sense for you guys to do your next year board appointments at the end of the month in December, and then it's known going into the next year. But besides that, you guys did something else that was a little bit different. You went ahead and you voted for your council hierarchy, the officers of the council, the president and the pro tem, the vice president.
You're gonna say it. I didn't know what the hell that was.
listen. So, and I've had a couple. You're not the only person that said that. I've had other people say, I didn't know what they were talking about. And
me neither.
It is what it is. They were just trying to be fancy, I guess.
No. Well, it's funny. After we voted for the pro tem and we moved on, I was sitting there wondering, well, who the hell's our vice president? I guess it worked itself. Yeah, it worked itself out pretty quick. I figured out. I was like, well, that must be what that is. They must be talking Latin.
That's
the Latin version.
Oh, that's hilarious. So why did you know that you were going to be voting for the officers yesterday?
No, I didn't. And just real fast, when you said our meetings are at the end of the month, just for people who don't know, I know I should know this. 3 years in, I can never remember which one it is. It's always either the third or the fourth Thursday, or the third or the fourth Tuesday of the month. Sooner or later, that'll stick in my head. Maybe not, but it's not always at the very end. Third or fourth Tuesday. But no, I did not know. Typically, like Chris said, my very first year when I got on there, I think we had a meeting right after. Well, January 6th happened right after that meeting. So because I think our meeting was like January 2nd, January 3rd. Yep. We made our board appointments. We made the votes for the president, vice president. It was a quick meeting. And then we adjourned. And then we had a regular meeting later on that January. Yeah. I just assumed, number one, the reason we did that is because I was the only new guy starting. I'm assumed, okay, you got to get me going. I don't really know why they needed me, but the board and committee appointments start on day 1 of January. Yeah. So it was important to get them in. So with this new format of appointing our board and committee seats in December, I really don't know why we would need to vote for our president and vice president. I'm going to stick with the vice president term. I like that language better.
Yeah, right.
If he's going to be the pro term, then I'm going to nominate myself the vice president unofficially. Assistant to the regional manager, right? Yes. Michael Scott reference for all you Office fans, but best show ever. But anyway, so I didn't really quite see the need of it, especially since there are no new elected officials. Everybody that's there today will be there next year. We don't have anybody new coming in, so I was kind of caught off guard when I got there. One of the council members I was talking to before the meeting said, "Hey, we're going to go ahead and vote on our officers in this meeting," and I was like, okay, well, what are we doing that for? Well, so we don't have to have a special meeting to come in early January. Now, I'm actually going on a cruise on the first week of January, like the 4th or whatever. I'll be gone for the week, so I wouldn't have been at that meeting anyway. But so I guess I was glad that they got it out of the way. But
sure,
again, I think it could have waited to our January 24th meeting. So I said, okay, well, I had intentions of I'll be open and honest about it. I really liked how Councilmember Hughes did. So I was planned on nominating Mr. Hughes for president, but he really wasn't interested. I think he served in his position as vice president as a duty because he felt like super experienced coming in. They sure as hell wasn't going to nominate me as vice president last year. So it had to have been him, right? Since he was our lawyer for several years, even though he was a new council member, he was our lawyer. So he understood things. So I think once he kind of did his role, he was eager to kind of fade back into the darkness and let the eager council members take the reins. And, Jessica and Matt, they're both pretty eager to serve and especially serve in those roles. So that's the way the votes went.
Well, and so first of all, I want to say this and get this out of the way because a couple people have also mentioned, "Hey man, Bilbrey, we watched this on your we watched it on your channel, and you have some kind of horrible hum going on or clicking." No, I will eat it every time I have sound or video. I'll tell you. I'll come right out and tell you. I normally am bitching and carrying on about it because I don't like putting out faulty or crappy sound. And when I do, it makes me really mad. And I'm normally bitching and moaning the whole time. That was not me. Delaware County upgraded their system a little bit ago. And the upgrade is kind of more of a downgrade because it does a lot less stuff. I don't know what's going on. That was their deal. That was on their feed. We could not get rid of that. And we're actually going to be talking about that here in a minute. But I just want everyone to be aware that was not me. I am so sorry for that. If you actually go to the county's feed on YouTube and you watch it, you'll see and you'll hear that right there. It was horrible. I don't know what that was. You were actually griping about it yesterday. Heard it. Back.
Yeah, when I got in my car, I just pulled up a clip to check it out, and just real quick while I was driving somewhere, and it was pretty much unwatchable. And you know, I had my volume all the way up, and my phone all the way up in my car, and it was popping and snapping. And I even called. I think I called you. I called a couple of people. Was like, hey, was that audio quality like bad the whole meeting? And the answer I got was, yeah, it was pretty bad the entire meeting. And you know, it was incredibly disappointing and kind of embarrassing. You know, we are, I like to look, when you deal with government, you know, you want to, we need to be a world-class organization. You wouldn't have a Pepsi board meeting and have the equipment malfunctioning. You wouldn't have an IBM meeting and have the equipment malfunctioning, right? When you're in government and you're in corporations, you have to be world-class, and you want to have world-class equipment. So we thought we had that world-class equipment. We upgraded. We spent a lot of money. The commissioners did. Upgraded our new system this year, unveiled. I don't know if you guys ever get an opportunity to attend these meetings in person, but we have like a 70-inch TV on one side, a 70-inch on the other, and another one in the hallway. So if the room is overflowing with people, you can sit out in the hallway and still watch the council meeting and hear everything.
No, I do want to stop you there for a second because to date, they have never done that.
Yeah, well,
when there is overflow, and I've been to some meetings just this year where there have been people stacked all the way down the hallway. They're not playing that. That is not going. And again, I will say this is a total misstep of this government that we are not having each and every meeting out at the Tillotson Justice Center on the stage, and that is not video and mic'd up. So you could fit all of Muncie in there, man. Like, I don't understand why we don't do that. That's an oversight. But yeah, I don't know. And as far as that TV, I've never seen it on out there.
Well, I'm gonna have to take your word for that because I'm obviously up on the bench, so I can't see the TV. But that was the intent. The intent was,
right.
and the reason I'm gonna take your word for it is because it's never on inside the room either, right? I not only do I want it on inside the room, I've suggested that when we have our packets and we're looking at our agenda, that be broadcast on the TV so the people in the audience can see what we're looking at. They can see the numbers we're looking at. Instead of just hearing them, they have a visual as well. In addition to having the TVs that we don't use, we have some cameras too. Quite a few cameras. Used to just have a guy with a camera, like Channel 8 News, like sitting out there with the camera, you know. Now there's multiple cameras, multiple angles. They can zoom, they can toggle, they can do all these things. I really wish we would utilize that capability a little bit more. We basically have 2 or 3 presets and we switch from one to the other. But they're capable. Yeah, they're capable of doing much, much more.
Yeah.
So I would like to see us utilize that. We have it. Let's utilize it. And it's been a year.
You guys are paying the company a pretty good chunk of money to do what they're doing. The city of Muncie's paying this same company a pretty good chunk of money to do this. And I do want to give you guys a throwback. For anybody that wants to compare, all you have to do, it's Sarah, it's the same person. It's Endpoint Creative, Mark Slusher. And look, Mark and I are all right. I'm not going to say we're friends, but we like speak to each other. He takes shots at me sometimes, so I'm going to take some shots at him. It is what it is. We're all right with each other, I guess, but it's what we do. I want everybody to go back and look at a Muncie City Council meeting when dreaded Dennis Tyler was in office. Okay, I know he's horrible. He's a bad guy. It is what it is. Whatever. I don't care about that. I'm more concerned about Roger Overby. When Dennis was mayor and Roger Overby was the video guy, and this Muncie City Council was talking, when Jerry Dishman was talking, Overby pointed the camera at him and it zoomed in, and you could see his mouth moving and you could hear him. And then when Dan Ridenour said something, it zoomed down to Dan Ridenour and it showed Dan Ridenour, and he talked and you could see him. And then when Doug Marshall would say something, it would zoom back. When it was a council vote, it would pan out and show the whole council. When somebody was at the podium speaking, it would show them. Even if the crowd got kind of crazy and the people over here were like booing and catcalling, he would zoom over and show the audience.
Yeah, we have a camera for that too.
Yeah, you guys have that same thing. They're called PTZ cameras. They're point tilt zoom, and it does all of that. And I actually stuck my head in the room and looked at their big equipment. I would kill for half of what he's got in there. I would kill for half of it. And so it's sad. The city of Muncie shows 3 program shots. You guys show 3 program shots. You don't ever get your video. So that's just, again, it's not a television production. It doesn't have to be the same thing as, watching Big Brother with cameras up you guys' nostrils and in the bathroom. Mm-hmm. But it would be nice to do a little bit of cameraman working,
Well, I mean, let's be fair. It is an upgrade from what we had before, but it's nowhere near the capability. We have the capability in the room. We're not utilizing. It'd be like you drive on a Ferrari and you never taken it over 30 mile an hour.
Right.
You can go a lot faster. You just choose not to.
Yeah.
And I've made several suggestions about the recordings, about some different ideas about how we're not utilizing our equipment. And I always get the same answer. Hey, the commissioners pay for that. That's their baby.
That's their baby. Yeah.
So it's like we really have no role or say so. Just like the commissioners switched the live streaming to YouTube instead of
totally
Facebook.
Ignorant.
I hate that. I think we had a lot of good interaction and involvement with the community when it was on Facebook. If you check those meetings now, there's never not even like 2. There might be 1 comment. There's nothing.
It's me.
Yeah. And that's unfortunate.
Delaware County just had a meeting tonight, a very important meeting, the Planning Commission meeting. I saw Tim Nickum up there speaking. I saw him. You guys look good. You guys are doing your thing up there. And we can talk about that a little bit later here too. But they had that meeting, and they're, this pretty big meeting that a lot of people have been concerned about at 6 p.m. in the evening. I think at one point it had 11 people watching, and I thought this is a disaster. The fact that this is not being shown live on Facebook, until the commission, and I've asked, but they've never gave me an answer. So until they give me an answer, I have to assume that the only reason they did this was to stop feedback, because I don't know what else the reasoning is.
Well, let me add in something that part of that, yes, the citizens need to be paying more attention. They need to get involved. Part of that's on us as a county too. We didn't go out of our way to notify everyone and say, hey, there's an important meeting. There's been a lot of interest in this solar stuff, the Planning Commission. Just for those who might want to know, we're doing a meeting tonight. We didn't utilize our Delaware County government page to tell nobody that. We didn't put it up. Well, it might have been on the website, but we're not doing our part to reach people where they are. We're not making it easy for people to know. I made a suggestion during budget time. I wanted to take $5-10 grand, whatever the cost was, and put a digital sign out in front at the corner at the light, like they got at the fairgrounds, that just constantly streams upcoming meetings and times and important things. So if you're driving down the road, you're sitting at the light, you look over, county council meeting this day, this time, planning commission meeting. People don't know because they're not looking for it. But if you put it in front of their face, then it may increase participation.
Like they've got one of those, I think in Daleville now, they've got one of those in the city, in the town of Parker. They had one of those for a long time in Winchester, but they couldn't figure out how to work it. Cities and communities much smaller than Muncie, much smaller than Delaware County have these things. But this, in Muncie, having citizens and Delaware County having citizens aware of what's going on and active is like I'm not going to say it's not important to any of them, but it's way back there on the list of what's important.
Well, it's beyond not important. It's almost annoying, right? Now, I'm not saying it's annoying, but if you watch some of the videos and some of our current elected officials and past elected officials, they'll tell you exactly how they feel about it. They're annoyed that everybody's there. They're annoyed that people are asking questions. They're annoyed that they have to answer them, so they're not really going to go out of their way to try to get more of that. I do. I tell everybody, welcome to the show. Let's put it on and let's have 100 people. When we had that solar thing happen, I took the whole day off from work. I told my wife I might not be home till 4:00 because there's going to be 300 people in there and we're going to have to answer all their questions. We ended up getting out of there by noon.
Right. Right.
So,
yeah. Like they could actually treat the meetings like professional news outlet does, since they're creating news when the meetings are held. That's exactly right. That's exactly. Well, and to answer Sarah's question here real quick, the thing is, the people who are paying for the contract for the media company, which is Endpoint Creative's Mark Slusher, is the commissioners. The commissioners are in charge of all of that. So it's their deal, it's their baby, and if people are not happy with what's going on with that, and listen, Mark's no slouch. He produces good quality, but he's not going to go above. If the commissioners tell him, if the council president tells him, hey, we want this, he'll do it. He's not going to go above and beyond. He knows that what they don't want and what they do want, and Ryan's not joking. That got me in a lot of trouble with one of your fellow council members who unfortunately we lost this year. But Jane Lassiter, when I made the statement that the council, I said something like, they hate Ryan because of it. And she's like, I don't hate him. I didn't necessarily mean her, but you can tell when you're asking questions that you clearly know the answer to, but you're doing it to put it on the record. To me, I respect that, because I might know what they're talking about, but there's sometimes I don't. And when they're talking so fast and you can't see who's saying it, it's good to have a council member say, wait, what are we doing here? Can we go over this again? And when you do that, every time you do that, if the camera's on a wide shot, you see 3 or 4 of them roll their eyes, or you hear them huff, or you hear them sigh. And it's like, when they're doing that, that's what they're putting off, that they're mad that you're like, here Ryan is. Oh, matter of fact, I'm not going to name the person, but an unelected person who was out in the hallway. I was at a meeting, the last meeting you guys were at, and you ask a question, and this person said, you ask another question. You said something to the effect of, I'm just only going to take a minute, or I got another question, or something like that. And the person said, here we go, or here he goes again. And it's just like, you can feel it. It's when you're asking simple questions, it's like the tension, you can cut it with a knife, and it should not be that way. It's so gross.
Well, I mean, as far as the fellow council members, I'm not paying as much attention to them. I'm not looking at the constituents, and
sure,
they have to be accountable for their own body language and their own eye rolls. If they're doing that, then they have to be accountable to what the voters see. I'm going to do my job. My job is to ask questions. Like my old boss said, I've said this many, many times.
I love
it.
I said,
I said, Rich, why do you ask me so many questions? And he says, because that's where the answers are, Ryan. So I do ask these questions for answers, but you're right. 90% of the time, I already know the answer. I'm doing it to put it on the record. But there are sometimes that, I'll give you an example. Emily Anderson was up there, and she had, I don't even remember what it was about, but I said, I have a question. She said, I knew you were going to ask a question. And I said, well, that's my job. And but in that particular instance, I really needed an explanation.
Sure.
You're gonna have to explain this to me. Why is this like this? And honestly, I figured we'd have a lot more of that. Only thing I can think is maybe some of those guys communicate, because they do a pre-council meeting. They have a finance meeting on Thursdays before the council meeting with the president, the vice president, one or two others. I've done a couple of them in the past. So a lot of those guys are already kind of tuned in on. They may ask those questions in that meeting. So maybe they don't ask the questions in the council meeting because they already know. I don't know. All I know is when I was a candidate running and I sit in that audience, I remember Ron Quakenbush would frequently speak up and ask questions and then give explanations.
Yep.
And for the people in the crowd, and me being a newcomer, I didn't have a damn clue what they were talking about. So I appreciated that so much. I made a mental note and said, if I ever sit on that seat, I'm going to do what Ron does. And I'm going to make sure that what's routine to me is still explained to those in the crowd or those watching at home or whatever it may be. I think I try to stay consistent with that.
Yeah, you always have, and again, man, I mean, look,
but I won't make apologies for asking questions.
No, hell no, absolutely not. That's ridiculous. And again, people can say whatever they want to say about anything else, anything that you do outside of your work as a counselor. They can have opinions about whatever. But if anybody sits there and says, I don't like what he does when he asks these questions or what he's doing in the council seat, I mean, if someone's saying that just nonstop, they're lying, because you do a damn good job. I wish we had other council people all over in all forms of government like that. We don't have enough people like that. And, I definitely wish we did. You do a good job, and I like that. So,
I appreciate the kind words with that. And you're right. I take my job very seriously. I do what I think needs to be done, but I also push the envelope on some things that people may consider as provocative. I like to stir debate. I like to stir discussion. I know a lot of us through society have been conditioned to self-censor. Like, we know something, but we know we're not supposed to say it, so we don't say it. And I try to push people to say it. I try to push people to say the thing they know they're not supposed to say, because that's how you move forward in things. You have uncomfortable discussions. Now, it offends some people. It upsets certain people. I seen a post today, I even shared it, where someone wrote a post saying that someone told them they were offended because they used a period at the end of their sentence. They interpreted that as some sort of like aggressive way. And I said, not in so many ways. I said, well, you're kind of responsible for this behavior, because when you go along with other things that aren't accurate or true in the name of being nice and kind, you set the stage for this crazy shit later where someone's getting upset that you're using a period. So yeah, I do have those conversations, and some people don't like it, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. Well, all right. So let's get a little bit more into the meeting here. So one of the first things that happened that kind of bothered me was straight off the gate. And I knew when this happened after COVID hit, I knew this was going to be something that was just always going to be a pain in the ass moving forward, because number one, it seems like we have a lot of, listen, and I don't mean any disrespect to anybody when I say this, and I want to make sure I always tell people this. My family was a young family. When I was born, my parents were all in their early 20s. My grandparents were in their 40s. I had great-grandparents that were just in their late 50s, early 60s. My family was a young family. I grew up with my family. I don't consider 50 and 60 old. I barely consider 70 old. I've got grandparents that are in their 80s that are out there doing shit that most 40-year-olds don't do. So, I don't consider people old. That being said, just for people to understand what I'm saying, in politics, a lot of older people are in politics. You don't have a lot of, 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds. That being said, I'm 40-something, and I barely know how to use computers and stuff. So when COVID came along and they allowed people to Zoom into meetings, and then directly after COVID, the state legislature came out and said, we're going to open this up, and now people can Zoom into meetings, and there's all of these things that are, in place, yada, yada, yada. I knew it was going to be a pain in the ass, because I knew that there were going to be people that were going to be older that were going to be trying to Zoom into meetings, and they weren't going to have their microphone hooked up or their camera was going to be, it's like that famous meme that time that the lawyers all zoomed into the courtroom and the one lawyer was like they had the cat picture on and he's talking to the judge, all the time, and he's like the cat and he's like, I don't know how to get this off, Your Honor. And like the whole time they're having court and this guy's a cat. That's kind of what happened. And we saw that play out yesterday. Councilor Mokel, if a lot of people don't know who that is, maybe some people don't know who that is, he's the gentleman that was caucused in to take the place of Jane Lassiter, who passed away earlier this year. And Jim Mokel's a great guy. I've got no problems with Jim. I like Jim. I've got no problems with him. However, when he was in, first of all, Jane Lassiter was gone, and they used to be able to put her up on the screen, and you could see her like you see Ryan and I. The council would be in my picture, and Jane would be where Ryan is, or sometimes Ryan Ballard would do that. Right? Everybody knows Ryan Ballard is an undertaker, and sometimes he would be out doing undertaker conventions and digging people, whatever they do, weirdos. And he would sometimes zoom in and you would see him and they would have the council on one side and they would have the, Ryan Ballard on one side. Well, now they don't do that. Now I don't understand what goes on. Now they've got the council and they've got it hooked up to where they've got the counselor on the laptop on the podium and you can't ever see or hear, but they were taking votes and it was just a couple of the votes, but you could not hear Mokel. And the president said something, Jessica Piper said something that honestly she should have caught herself, because she said, you can just give a nod or a thumbs up and we can log the vote. And my jaw hit the floor when she said this, because you cannot do that in voting. You have to be able to be heard and to give a loud verbalization, and that needs to be recorded for the minutes. So when she said that, I couldn't believe that. First of all, she didn't say, wait a minute, what am I thinking? I couldn't believe that the attorney didn't stop her, and everybody just went on. And so I kind of went into overdrive, and I sent a message to the county on their email that I thought went directly to I thought it went to Matt, is who I thought it went to.
Yeah, Matt's normally the one reading those. Yes.
Well, apparently he wasn't. Apparently Denise was this time. I guess. I don't know what was going on, but I then text Matt. I text you, but you hadn't seen it. And so I text several different people, and I was like, yo, heads up, that's not good. Well, then, unbeknownst to me, you actually brought it up. And when you brought it up, the attorney was like, oh, no, it's all good. Everything's good. Everything's good to go. And I was like, wait a minute. That's not true at all. So what was your thoughts on that?
Well, if I could just real quick, let me clarify a couple things. When you talked about the split screen, whatever council member was zooming in, right? The people at home watching on Facebook would see it the same way they're looking at you and me right now. Council on one side, the person on the other. However, the council and everyone else in the room watching, that council member was up on those two big screens, right? They were in there. Those TVs worked then. For some reason, that was before our upgrade, right?
Yeah.
So what you're showing right there, the spot on the right, the screen on the right would have been playing on the big screens on the wall, right?
Yep.
Now, for whatever reason, when we did our upgrade, those TVs have never been on since then. We lost that capability.
I don't understand that.
I'm not a tech whiz. I'm not going to try to pretend to explain it. But I also had an incident experience in this. Now, one time they were on there at the beginning of the year. Matt Kantz was out, and they had him up on the screens, right? Well, a couple months later, when I experienced it, we were in our budget meetings. We'd done our budget meetings, and those of you who are familiar with the budget, there are multiple sessions. And I'd gotten a little frustrated that we'd kind of dilly-dallied around, and I'd already taken off a lot of time from work. And I said, you know what, I'm not coming in on this particular meeting. I'll zoom in, and do it that way, So that's what I did. But when I had called the president to Zoom in, I was told that by law they have to be able to see and hear me, and that
Yes.
they didn't have a cord for the TV, so I wasn't going to be able to participate in that particular meeting. I said, okay. I said, well, I'm just driving. I was on a long road trip, so I'm just listening. And I said, I'll send in any questions if I have any concerns. So I had texted Matt a few questions or, things to bring up. And Matt would occasionally bring them up. He didn't bring everything up I texted, but every now and then he would say, hey, Ryan's asking about this or that. Well, the next meeting, same thing again. I didn't come. And this was like the next day. And it was like a 2-hour session, 3-hour session. And this is just at the end of the meeting. We've done 95% of it. It's like mop up duty, right? And I didn't want to take off an entire day of work for like 2 hours. Well, this time they had a laptop ready. They said, well, we've got the cord. I assumed it was like a cord for the TVs. But
Right.
I didn't find this out till later. But all they did was they hooked me up to a laptop and they spun me around where the council could see me. They put my laptop, my picture of me, like connected up at the podium where people speak, and the council could see me, right? I didn't realize when I was the whole time I was participating, I thought people watching it on the live stream could see me on the split screen and everything. I didn't know until after the fact that nobody could hear a word I was saying. Nobody could see me. None of that. None of that was done the way that we had done it in the past. So I was a little bit kind of frustrated with that, and I was a little bit because I'd brought up some serious points. I was pushing to get the correctional officers their raises. There was pushing for Fred to get his people his raises with the EMA or the EMS, and no, hell, I got them both wrong there. The 911 people.
911.
Yeah. So long story short, we get into this meeting, and I see that Jim's zooming in, and they're doing it the same way that they did to me when I wasn't there. And it was interesting because pretty much the same rules still applied. Nobody could see or hear him because he was turned away from the audience. He was facing the council members, right? So nobody could see him. Definitely anyone watching on the live stream couldn't see. I would venture to say maybe if the sound was okay, you might have been able to hear him. But the way that sound quality was, I would probably say you couldn't hear him either. So, yeah, there was some concerns there. And then what people don't understand is as the meeting progressed, Jim fixed whatever was going on his end. His votes now were coming out crystal clear when they would call. So I did a point of information, and I asked the president, hey, since Jim's clearly got his microphone working now, those couple of votes earlier, we couldn't hear him. My understanding is we have to be able to hear him and see him. Should we go back and have Jim verbalize those votes for the record? And I believe, if my memory is correct, Jessica deferred to our council, and our council spoke up and said that he thought that it was okay because they had verbally communicated in the room what Jim was saying, basically repeated it for the record. And in his opinion, that was sufficient.
Well, see, I heard that play out, and that's exactly as you recounted it. There is exactly how it played out, and I was like, no, that's not right. And I want to read you something here, and this is Indiana Code 5-14-1.5-3.5, and I want to make sure that everybody is aware because I have looked at this. I have had a few other people look at this. I have had other people from other areas that do not have a dog in this fight. They don't care anything about what goes on here.
Before you read that, I also want to point out that much like when I was talking and I wasn't here and they had me on the laptop, I was talking for 5-6 minute stretches, long periods of time. Nobody could see or hear me. There was a camera behind Jessica's head. So our camera and audio person could have easily switched that camera on to Jim or me back when I was doing it. And people on the live stream, people in the audience, everyone could have then seen and heard him. But for whatever reason, they didn't switch it to there. I
They
would
won't
say
do
if they're
it.
gonna, if they're gonna continue with that model moving forward, I
Yeah.
would think that maybe they could at least look at doing that when whoever's on the laptop who's not there is talking, that they focus the camera on that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I agree. That really needs to happen. But so just so everyone is aware, and because this has been a little bit of scuttlebutt now, and in my opinion, I feel like the attorney has kind of doubled down and I'm kind of concerned about this, and I'll explain to you here in a minute why. But the law basically states that the council is made up of 7 people. This particular council has 7 people. So a quorum is 4 people. If there are 4 people there, they have a quorum. So if Jim Mokel was absent and he just didn't feel good, he had a kidney stone, he was on vacation, he's like, no, I'm not going to zoom in, whatever, they could have conducted the meeting just fine with 6 people, no issue. They could have conducted the meeting with 5 people. They could have conducted the meeting with 4 people. All right, 4 people is a quorum. Where it becomes an issue is if Jim Mokel would have been the decision-making vote, if it would have been a 3-3 vote, and Mokel would have had to make the tie-breaking vote, or if they would have only had 3 people and Mokel would have been the 4th person, then this would have been an issue. So it's not an issue like the meeting was illegal or anything, but here's what it means. Per state law, all this means is Mokel's votes during those times should not have counted. The minutes should have reflected 6-0 or 6-1 if it was a situation where Ryan didn't vote with it or whatever. So it shouldn't have been 7-all because he couldn't be heard. And they could have easily went back and did what Ryan asked and fixed this, and then it would have been 7-all, but it's not. And so I brought that up. Well, when they asked the attorney doubled down kind of very surprisingly, and he wrote out a memo that was then, and that did get sent to me. But he wrote out a memo that said his response was, Jim was able to be seen and heard for the majority of the meeting. At a few points during the meeting, including in response to a couple of roll call votes, Jim's microphone appeared to be malfunctioning. All right, so now the attorney has put it in writing that his microphone was malfunctioning. Okay, pursuant to Indiana Code 514 1.5 3.5c, the malfunction does not prevent the governing body from conducting its meeting as long as his participation is not required to satisfy the quorum, which it didn't, or impact the passage of the vote being taken, which it didn't. We had a quorum of 6 to 7 members. We were physically able and present and were able to conduct the meeting. Jim's vote did not impact the outcome of either of the 2 votes in which the microphone was not working. And accordingly, there is no issue with Jim's involvement in the meeting or the votes which were taken. Respectfully, Benjamin Freeman. This is where the issue lies with me. This attorney is what he's referencing here is not what the law states. Simply put, the law says that because of the microphone, he may participate in any final action taken in the meeting only if the member can be seen and heard, which is what Ryan was told earlier. So the issue here being is, although it wasn't a quorum issue, and although it wasn't an issue with deciding factor, he did participate in final action. He gave the votes, and those votes were written down in the minutes. The problem I have with this here is, in what world do we have an attorney justifying taking a vote on an item in an official meeting by giving a thumbs up or wiggling his ears or, flipping the bird or whatever? It's crazy because basically we have a council saying, that what he's saying here is, he's only going to advise the council to follow the law when it matters. And that is a very, very, very scary point. Because if the attorney's going to flub it on the small stuff, why does someone like I, who doesn't trust these people, and maybe that's wrongfully so, but, what have they given me to trust them for? Why am I now going to trust that they're going to do the right thing when it counts? Remember, I also felt that the council met illegally, and the attorney went along with that too. So now this is the second time I've caught him in something where I feel like he's not all been there. So
well, you're not the only one who felt that way. The public access counselor felt that way. The Star Press felt that way. I felt that way. So you're not the only one who felt that way. I mean, that was deemed an illegal meeting. Point blank. There's no way around it.
Yoko gets it here. State statute says if they can't be seen or heard, they cannot participate in final action. That is very true. You can read it in the law. I'm not an attorney. I'm not pretending to be an attorney. Ben Freeman is an attorney. I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to go up against him in court. I'm just saying I feel like if we're paying him to advise the council, I don't want him playing fast and loose with the law, whether it's a small thing or if it's a big thing. And I guess to me, if he's willing to double down this big on something that doesn't make that big of a difference, what happens if he really screwed up? It's okay to screw up in government as long as you're willing to say, hey, I messed up. Like Ryan did that with this tax abatement thing. Ryan said, I made the wrong decision here. I think I need to go back and review this. But I don't feel like many other people do that. And I certainly don't think that this attorney does that. And I want to state this for the record. I don't have any issues with this man personally. I don't know him personally. This is not a hatred for him. This is a distrust of him in his role as a public official. I don't know this man personally. He's probably a great guy. I don't drink bourbon with him, and we don't hang out in boats and floats and whatever. So I don't care about him personally. I just want him to govern properly.
Shut up. Sorry.
My dogs are right. Stupid. I'm a dog lover.
Yeah.
She's good.
Ben's an incredibly intelligent person. So, when you have conversations with him, he seems very knowledgeable. He's a professional. Only thing I can think of is I don't know. Some people may look at it and say, is it pride where you don't want to acknowledge that he was incorrect, or is it just his interpretation? He sees it differently. I'm not sure which one it is. But when you have a conversation with him one-on-one, I mean, he's very very intelligent. He speaks very clearly, and he speaks very confidently. So I don't know. Maybe he just interprets it in a different way. That's what a lot of legal theory is, just your interpretation of it.
Well, that's Kate says Ben makes her think a lot of Meeks Cockrell, another attorney that we are familiar with, and I get that vibe from him. I feel like Ben wants to be somebody. I feel like in pretty quick order, one of these days, he will probably see his name on a ballot. I wouldn't be shocked, because I think he's really trying to make some big moves in the Republican Party. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him on the ballot one of these days. That could be interesting. But
they all want to be an elected official, right? You just gotta. Which is funny, because when I was younger, I was going to go to law school, so we could just be swapping out, right?
Yeah.
Seriously, right? I was going to go to law school, but back then I was living life a different way, and I didn't want to invest a bunch of years in school, get halfway through, and then get in trouble for something, not even be able to be a lawyer.
Right.
Yeah, so I changed my mind, started to just have odd jobs instead. No, Ben's a good guy, but I think you're right. I think maybe he will get involved. He is involved with the Republican Party. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I'm never at none of those events, but I've heard he goes to them. No,
I've seen the pictures. That's hilarious. So from there, what other issues did you have with yesterday's meeting?
Again, like I said, on the surface, it looked like just a pretty casual meeting. There really wasn't much to it. We did do the board and committee appointments. I was a little frustrated that we didn't have. We had some great participation on certain boards. Some boards had 6, 7 people going for them, 8 people. But then there are other boards where we only had the one person who was already serving in the role. We had no choice but to reappoint that person. I kind of have a policy for me personally. I don't like appointing the same people over and over to the same board. My policy is, thank you for your service. I would love for you to continue volunteering your time on a different board. But for this board, let's kind of make way for someone new to get involved. We've got a ton of people in the community that want to get involved. But when you only have one person sign up for it, I can't really keep that principle. I have to vote for him. There was one vote that I was prepared to make a motion that we just don't send anybody. And there's a Delville Economic Board, and it was revealed that they never met ever. There's a board who's never had a meeting, but Jessica said enthusiastically, but the gentleman who's on it would love to serve again. And I said,
"What are you serving for?"
I bet he would. What the hell? You're not doing anything,
right?
Right. So I was going to make a motion, kind of out of protest. Look, if they're not meeting, let's just send nobody. Let's just appoint no one to this board, because it's not a board anyway. It's just a board in name. But then we had a gentleman put his name in for it. He emailed us. I called him. I spoke with him. He was surprised that I called him. He said no one else had called him. And he seemed very interested. So being the sense, and I said this in the council meeting, I said, since how this other gentleman who's been on the board hasn't managed to be able to get him to meet, I think Jessica spoke up at that point and said, well, he's not the head of the board. He's not the president of the board. And my response to that is, if I'm on a board, I don't care if I'm the president or not. If we've never met, I'm going to call people and organize and say, let's have a damn meeting. Right?
Yeah, right.
Now, in everyone's defense and my ignorance, Brad Bookout then got up there and spoke and said, this is a little bit over my head, so I'm going to have to take his word for it. But he said the whole purpose of having that redevelopment board is in case a bond needs to be issued for Delville, and that the reason they had never met is because they hasn't had any bonds that they would need to meet for. So sounds legit. Again, I'll take Brad's word for it. That would explain why they've never met, but just doesn't sound good.
We'd have to go back and see if there's been. So is that a yearly board?
Well, you put me on the spot. Maybe a year or 2 years. I think a lot of our boards
I was going to say, so
are like 2 years and 4 years.
We'd have to go back and look and see, because Daleville's done some work over there in the last couple of years.
Like a whole brand new damn town.
Yeah, right. It's weird that, like, oh wait, one of the police chiefs over there is the commissioner. That's weird. All right, that's for another meeting, another show, I guess. But anyway, they've done work, so I heard that, and to me, that would be a reason why they wouldn't meet. That makes sense. But then I got to thinking, wait a minute. You mean they've done all that work and maybe they haven't got a bond for that work, but that would be surprising.
It's a lot of work. I mean, got a whole new police station, yeah. And Flanagan spoke up. Councilmember Flanagan said he's on the Yorktown board, and it's same thing with them. And they've also done a ton of work. So
right.
I don't know how these little towns are, overflowing with money, that they're doing all these infrastructure projects with no bonds. So
absolutely insane.
To figure it out.
Yeah, that's crazy. So so your board appointments went pretty well. I do agree with you, and you've done a good job of trying to get people involved, and I think that your push for that to be in the rules and everything that you guys have done there, that's been a definite plus for the council. And, hopefully that can keep working and keep, continue to grow. And I liked one thing I got to say, I got to give Piper credit for, and maybe you brought this up, but I did hear her mention something about making a big list, like a master list of even who's on the city's boards and having a great big list. I mean, I don't know why we wouldn't put this on the city website and the county's website, the Facebook page. And that way, everybody who's anybody anywhere would be able to go to this and say, okay, I need to contact so-and-so on this board. Here's who's on it. Here's the years they're on it. And that would be a brilliant idea. I mean, hell, I would compile that for the city and their county if they would use it.
That goes that goes back to us not doing enough as a local government to seek involvement from the people, right? That would require effort from elected officials and department heads who want people to contribute. But I'm just going to say the dirty secret out loud. The truth is, a lot of them don't want new people to come in. They want their core group of supporters, the people that show up to their party functions and their fundraisers. This is why you'll have one or two people on 5-6 boards, right? Because they show up to all these things and they put their name in for it. And because there's only one or two other people putting their names in for it, they give it to their friends. Now, in a perfect world, you're right. County would be collaborating with city. Not one person from the city contacted and said, "Hey, you guys got any boards available? I got a person who's really involved in some of our stuff. They'd be a good fit for that." I didn't hear anything like that. That would have been a great opportunity for the city, the county council, and the commissioners to collaborate. Hell, at one point last year, somebody, I can't remember who made the error. If it was, I think the commissioners appointed, either we appointed someone that had already been appointed by the commissioners, or the commissioners appointed somebody that had already been appointed by us. Something like that happened. And again, some lack of communication or whatever, but we really have to do a better job of working together.
Yeah.
And seeking out people who want to be involved. Now, as much as I kind of really don't, I'm not going to say don't get along with. I get along with Mitch Isaacs very well, but we have differing views on ideological things. But he does operate a program there at his nonprofit where you can basically, I'm trying to think of the name of it, where you can submit your name to be considered for boards and you can see what boards are available. They did come to a council meeting and invited us to participate on that program that the city already does. And so kudos to them for doing that. But, people who don't pay attention don't know this. You know this.
Yeah.
But there's what I call the Cold War. There's a Cold War between the city and the county, right?
Oh, yeah.
Been going on for decades, right?
Yeah.
And it's a bunch of stubborn elected officials at the top. And I'm talking about your mayor, your commissioners, and your high-end officials who just for whatever reason cannot work together and without worrying about who's getting the credit for it, and it's just conflict. If you guys notice any big project that the county brings in, it's outside city limits, right? It's the Canpack, it's outside the city limits, it's Daleville, it's all these different places, never in the city limits because they don't want to share the credit. Same thing with the mayor. Anything he's doing it inside the city limits. Even the ARP money, the money was divided up. The city had their money and the county was going to spend every penny outside the city. There wasn't going to be nothing spent in the city. So what they have to do is start working together in a collaborative effort. I mean, I don't know if it's as bad as the old days when the city plow trucks would be plowing and they would raise their plows as they drove over the county bridges. I don't know if it's that bad still, but it's definitely not very cooperative. And I say that as someone who sees it from the other side.
And for the record, like the police get along, they do well. In all reality, it's not as bad as it used to be because the street guys really do get along and they try to help each other out. It's mostly just the ignorant, elected, the big egotistical minded people that are not, doing. It's not the Ryan Webbs. It's not Troy Ingram. It's the people that are, it's the commissioners, it's the mayor, and the mayor. That was one of his top 6 things. I'm going to repair this. I'm going to repair things with the county. I'm going to repair the county. Mm-hmm. And I remember that the mayor, Richard Ivey, Jeff Robinson, and maybe Aaron Clark met with Shannon Henry and James King when the mayor was still mayor-elect, like after the election in November of 19, but before January. They met and had a great big blowout before Dan was even mayor, and it was over from that point.
Yeah.
There was no more communication.
Bad start, huh?
Yeah. It like happened. Yeah. I was like, Jesus.
I will say that there's been progress like the 911 agreement. People don't realize that 911 agreement, we had an interlocal agreement with the city. They paid $800,000 to the county a year to utilize our 911, basically for our 911 services to cover the city. And it got testy during negotiations. I'm again, I give you guys the good stuff, the behind the scenes stuff. There were county officials talking, saying, look, all we're required is to notify them of a call. We can hand them a cell phone. And when a 911 call comes in, we can transfer it to their cell phone and we've done our role. Right?
Yeah.
Like that was the crazy stuff that was being talked. And I remember saying, man, but that's going to look bad on us that we're putting the people in that position. And this person who's not elected no more said, the city's putting these people in that position.
Yeah.
I mean, it was hardcore negotiation, right? And I was like, okay, if you think they're going to see it that way, but whatever. Somebody's having a heart attack and we're giving them a damn cell phone to call. Like, that's probably not going to go over too well. But there's been improvement there.
Yeah.
We renegotiated an agreement. It went up a little bit in money, and I attributed a lot of that.
The city had to pay more money. Bullshit.
Yeah. $1 million, right?
Yeah,
very well spent money by the city. And I'm going to credit Fred with that. We've got a new director at the 911 department. Fred is very blunt and direct, and he's not a fluff kind of guy. He doesn't warm me up. He just gives it to you straight. And some people don't like that about him. I love it about him.
I love Fred.
Yeah, but he's totally changed the dynamics in that room and the culture. And he's got people retained and trained. He's big on training, and it's really turned things around. So that's the progress I see with the city and the county. Now, going back to what some of these issues are, it's the same thing I have. It's part of the same problem of why I don't like the same people serving on boards and committees over and over and over. I don't like elected officials serving over and over and over.
Yeah, right.
In fact, I ran because I was tired of seeing the same damn names over and over and over. When I got elected, 3 of my council members had been up there for 20 years, right? Yeah. You will not be sitting here talking to me in 20 years. I guarantee it. I promise you, right? It's not going to happen. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do what I wanted to do. I wanted to serve my community. Might consider one more term, but after that, I'm getting the hell out of the way, and I'm going to make room for somebody new who wants to come in and make an impact on their community. If you look at a lot of our county officials, a lot of these people have either been in the same role for a long time or they played musical chairs. They move from one to the next, to the next, to the next. I don't like it. And I think that leads to stagnant policies, and it has those long festering resentments that don't go away because you just went from one office to the next and you're still remembering that guy who pissed you off 12 years ago. Right. in the city or whatever. So I would like to see that being done differently.
Yeah. I can respect that. So I personally, then yesterday in your meeting, you guys voted for your president. The president of the council for 2024 is nothing's changed. It's going to be Jessica Piper. The vice president moved from Bill Hughes to Matt Kantz, and I don't have a problem with Matt Kantz being vice president. I'm fine with Matt Kantz being vice president. I would have rather Matt Kantz been president, to be honest with you. I would have rather seen that. I would rather anybody probably be president other than Piper, but it is what it is.
Matt is incredibly oh my god, sorry about that. I got like $200 on this Laker game. They were up by 20 earlier, and now they're only up by 2 with 45 seconds.
Oh shit!
I cannot believe these guys.
You gotta watch
like
it. You want to watch it?
No, I'm good with it. It's not gonna change the outcome, right?
It's not gonna change the outcome.
But anyway, Matt's incredibly dedicated to his job. He sends very, very detailed emails. If he has a question about something, he digs into it. He starts calling the people that he needs to call to find out, how do I better understand this? All those things. Matt does a very good job with that stuff. So I think he'll do a good job in his position. And, maybe they're setting him up for down the road to become president. I would personally, again, I like the way the commissioners do it. They don't keep the same person over and over and over. They rotate. The next year, they're moving out of the way, and one of the other three is going to take the position. It's not been that way on the council, and maybe it's not that way on a lot of counties. It's not that way on the city council neither. But I would prefer it the way the commissioners do it.
Yeah, it's you get a kind of a different, revolving kind of culture of different ideas and different way people handle things. And I heard people say someone said, why didn't Ryan say that he would be, why didn't he make the motion for himself to be president? I'm like, man, that would be like pretty ballsy.
Yeah.
It'd be one thing if you did it and someone gave you a second, like, and to die for the vote, but to do it, like, not get a second or whatever, that would be like, man, that would be like very, that'd be bruising. But
well, here's the thing. Dave never even voted me to be on a board or committee. So they're sure as hell not going to vote for me to be vice president or president. Yeah, listen, I know where I'm at. So
yeah, right.
I don't pretend to have visions of grandeur and think I'm bigger than what I am. I know where I am on that council.
That place, that is so ridiculous.
I'm good with it. Some people are interested in winning the approval and adulation of their fellow elected officials. My focus is on winning the approval and adulation of the citizens and my constituents. I could give two shits about making friends with other elected officials.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was talking to another counselor. It wasn't Jessica Piper, so it was a man. I was talking to another councilman, and I was kind of, I would have liked to seen Bill do it, and this other councilman said, "Nah, Bill didn't want it." I made the comment, yeah, because Bill's a good soldier. And I don't mean Bill any disrespect when I say that. I believe Bill's in a place in his life where he wants to serve and he serves well. I don't have any problems with Mr. Hughes. I think Mr. Hughes does a good job. I think he's probably in a place where he's not looking to take on crazy amounts of extra work. He's done that in his life and he's just doing his thing. I just mean I'm just tired of the whole mentality that it's just going to be Piper and we're all going to bow down and kiss Piper's ass because, what she wants. And she's she's afraid of her own shadow. And so there's no kind of, teeth to the council at all. You guys don't have that checks and balances kind of thing. You guys are more just like kind of like lay over and play dead. And that is the leadership. I don't know. I hope that changes. I don't know, but I was talking to this person, and then that brings me to one of the other big issues was one of the big surprises that you guys did, along with voting for those people and allowing people to vote by wiggling their nose and shit, was you voted to, number one, to keep this attorney's law firm, Beasley Gilkinson. And I didn't really have a problem with the person who put that, who made the motion to keep him, because it was Bill that made the motion, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Okay, because I just want to put this out for the record, and because this wasn't mentioned. There's not a conflict of interest here per se. Like, there's nothing that makes this illegal. But hey, at least we can hear you. You're not. You make the record show that Ryan voted with a burp.
Yes.
But after,
that's another thing. I'm gonna drink my beer, so you probably interview other elected officials. You'll never see them drink anything. I drink beer, so it's gonna happen.
No way.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
When Ingram was on and he took a shot, that they called him he was a drunk, he was an out of control drunk counselor and something like that. And I was like,
I can't do shots.
You're ridiculous. Oh yeah. It was those little Jaeger, those weird things that he drank.
Yeah.
It drinks.
Yeah.
It was
I
like,
was
good
over at
Lord.
election night and they were all taking shots. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, you can have it, bro. I got my beer. I'm good.
Yeah, right.
I'm too old for that. But
So someone said you're drinking Bud Light.
no, it's Coors Light. But I will say this for the record though, if Bud Light was my beer, short of them shooting my dog in the front yard, I would have never canceled them. I don't give a shit what everybody else is doing. I'm gonna drink my drink. Hey, I don't bow to peer pressure.
That's hilarious.
They would have had to do something that really personally affected me for me to like fade away from it. But fortunately, I'm a Coors Light guy. So
Okay, well, that's it's oh God, I'm just not much of an alcohol drinker, period. But I could drink coolers over Bud Light, but
yeah.
it all gets me. Anyways, so we're keeping the same legal firm, Beasley Gilkinson, which is Ben Freeman. But the thing that really got me was right after the quick vote, bam, to keep him, there was no other law firm considered. It's just like, this is who we got, this is who we're sticking with. You guys voted on something that was really strange right after that. What was that?
Well, it wasn't right after that. That was a package deal, right? That was a package.
Oh, it came together?
Yes. So, again, this come out of left field. I totally didn't see this coming. But Bill made a motion that to retain the law firm that we had, which is Beasley Wilkinson or whatever, and with Ben as the lawyer that works there. It's not to retain Ben, it's to retain the law firm, and Ben happens to be their representative. And in addition to that, he would like to he would like to propose a 10% salary increase. Didn't even say salary increase, just increase to what we pay them contractually.
Yeah, I got it right here. Give me 1 second. We'll put this.
If you could pull it up, that'd be great. I know it's a lot more than what our county employees got. That's all I know.
Okay, right here it is.
We've been using Beasley Gilkinson for many, many years now. We hire the firm, not the attorney.
I'd like to move that we renew the contract with Beasley Gilkinson as council attorney for 2024 with an increase in the annual stipend to $17,750. It represents approximately a 10% increase. As I mentioned during budget hearings, there has been no increase since before I was council attorney. I became council attorney in 2017, and I think that the stipend before that, for at least a couple of years before that, had not changed. So it's been at least 7 or 8 years since there's been any change in that. And I think it is warranted.
Second. All right, motion by Bill, second by Matt.
Matt.
Is this something that we can increase the payment today when we're renewing the contract, or is that something that has to be done?
It's paid out of our contractual services line.
We have sufficient money budgeted on contractual services to make this.
My only concern is, we were in there a week and we got 500 county employees, most of them didn't get salary increases, and I don't really like the taste. I feel like it kind of leave a bad taste in their mouth to give somebody a 10% increase with so many people not helping.
County employees did receive increases in some of those other 7 or 8 years that the county attorney has never received.
All right, any additional questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Lincoln?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Cantz?
Yes.
Mr. Mokel? Mr. Webb?
I'm gonna vote no.
Mr. Wyatt?
Yes.
Mr. Piper?
Yes. All right.
So all the audio was bad there. There's popping and cracking. I want to just point out, number one, we did not hear Mokel. So I don't know if you guys could hear him inside there. Could you, Ryan?
Yeah, though everybody voted no, or everybody voted yes, and I voted.
Ryan obviously voted no.
I voted thumbs down.
Yeah. Cantz voted yes real quick, like without much. I was really disappointed in that. was disappointed that there wasn't more talk on this than
Mhm.
not. So it was kind of not too loud because the audio in there sucks. So tell people what your issue was.
Well, I first of all, I was kind of shocked that we were even discussing it because we weren't there to make appropriations or to make do raises or stuff like that. We were supposed to be there uh, to just do transfers and do the board and committee appointments, right? So that just kind of blew my mind. But the biggest problem that I had with it was that we just had our budget meetings. 2-3 months ago, and Bill, we were fighting over every dollar, right? Every dollar was gold, right? Every little raise, every little everything. Bill made the suggestion then to increase the money for the attorneys, and amongst discussion throughout the council, it was overwhelmingly shut down. Like, just can't do it, bro. Like, we
And
can't.
was it 10% then that Bill? Do you know if it was?
I don't
Or
recall.
it was
I don't
just
recall.
some kind of increase.
Yeah, it probably was, but I can't say for certain. I just know he wanted an increase then, and I remember there was some spirited debate over it. Really, he was the only one pushing for it, but it's because, look, dude, how can we do this when we got 500 people that's literally getting nothing, and the time inflation's went crazy, all these different things, and that was the end of that. It died right there. We might have said if we get to the end of the budget meeting and we have some extra money, maybe we'll look into it. But we didn't have any extra money. We didn't have any extra money. Like, when we did our budget, we got down to the dollar of what we had. So I was kind of frustrated to have that kind of snuck in there, if you will. When I'm looking around the other council members with a look on my face, like, what the hell are we even talking about? I did get some eye contact with Eugene Whitehead. I kind of thought he was going to be with me on this.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know about this. So I was surprised when everybody quickly voted yes. I don't know if they put as much thought into it or didn't realize it until after the fact. But here's the other thing. I mentioned this on my recap video yesterday. I always do every time we do a council meeting, I do a recap video later on that day. But we don't have the damn money to do that 10% increase. Nobody even asked that question. So when you say let's increase it 10%, where's that money at? Because we have every dollar accounted for in next year's budget. Where are we pulling 10% from? Are we going to pull it out of our general fund, our operating balance, our $4.5 million operating balance? Well, if that's the case, why couldn't we pull $1,000 raises for everybody out of the operating? Actually, I think it was 5.5. I wanted to cut the operating balance from 5.5 million to 4.5 million and give every county employee $2,000 raise, right? So they got something. That was shot down. You can't live without it. We have to have it. Doesn't make sense to me. I mean, every time I look, I get the reports, and every time I look in that account, we got about 4 million in there. So it's not like we're running it down to like $200 or something. It's always
Right.
been like 4.5 million. So I think that's actually more than what we had, or around what we had my first year on the council. So I know we can do it because we've done it just like 2 years ago. So in addition to giving an attorney and a contractual service raises or an increase over our hardworking employees, I didn't like it. This is my approach. Look, there's a lot of attorneys in the county.
Yeah.
You want the job, this is what we pay.
This is what we pay you.
You don't want it. You want a raise. I don't know what to tell you. You don't want it or you don't. If you don't, we'll call the next guy. They got people. We'll bring them in here. That's my position. I'm a little bit more hardcore and cutthroat with stuff like that.
Look,
and this goes to the relationships. People building relationships with people, and they're afraid to be cutthroat and make business decisions because they don't want to upset their friend.
Well, and to be perfectly honest, if anybody's pissy about what you just said, all they got to do is go back. Well, firstly, Ryan don't care. But all you got to do is go back to the beginning of this video when he said nothing but glowing remarks about Ben. You don't have any about Ben. It's just
I like Ben. Yeah, I like Ben.
It is what it is. It's not.
Yeah.
I had another conversation with a councilman today, and he made a couple of remarks that really pissed me off because he kept talking about me hating Ben, and I'm like, dude, I don't hate Ben. I don't know Ben. I don't hate people I don't know, man. Like, I don't know anything about him. I can agree with how he acts and his flippant, arrogant remarks to a citizen when it's like, whoa, bro, who are you to be talking up here? That really turned me off on him. And from that point forward, that turned me off. When I saw how he treated Rick Ginser that time, I've had a problem with that since. Jenny Honeycutt. I've known Jenny Honeycutt since I've been 8 years old. Her grandmother and my grandmother are great friends. Jenny Honeycutt got up and got all mouthy. I said shit to Jenny Honeycutt. I'll say it to Ben. I'll say it to Jenny. If Kate would have stood up and said something, I would have said it to Kate. It just is what it is. I don't like when people do that. I don't think that that's appropriate. I think depending on what any of you council people would have said, you guys are elected. If you can take the fallout, but that was my issue there. But I don't hate him. I think he's done other stupid things around, and I'll tell him. And he's also done some good things. I'll tell him that too. But I don't personally hate Ben. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head. If he doesn't want it for what the county offers, if it's the thing where it's like, poor him, he's not had a raise in 7 years. Well, he's an attorney. He works for Beasley Gilkinson. He's not hurting, I can promise you.
Yeah. Well, there's no guarantee they're going to pass that raise on to him anyway, because we're giving the firm the raise, not Ben.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's no guarantee. So I can see where people would think there was a conflict of interest with Bill working for Beasley Wilkinson previously and then making that motion. I mean, if I didn't know any of those people, I'd probably say that too. I'd say, oh, he looks like he's taking care of his buddies that still work there, right? But Bill's only one vote, right?
Yeah,
you got to have 4 votes to make it happen. They made the votes. I base my decisions based off of looking people in the eye. Everybody knows I'm accessible. You can call me, you can message me, you can walk up to me wherever I'm at, and you can. So when I go, because after that council meeting, I went and worked at the jail with the correctional officers for about 3 hours, right? I went and shadowed the correctional officers. No other council members done that. I've done it twice now. And they'll tell me that. Nobody's ever come up here and done this. I go up there, I see what they go through. The guys smearing crap all over the cell and throwing food over the cameras, and they got to deal with that crap and crazy people banging on the window. It's nuts. But when the dude at the end of the day starts talking to me, and he's a little bit more comfortable with me now, so he's talking more freely, and he's like, why did you guys only give us $750, and why did you spread it over our pay instead of giving it to us in a lump sum? And I had to explain it to him that, well, the reason we did that is because that added to your base salary. If we had to give it to you in a lump sum, it would have been a one-time this year. It wouldn't have been added to your pay next year. But if I would have voted with those guys, that what happened with that attorney's pay, I would have then had to hear that guy, because he watches council meetings, say, hey, man, why did you vote to give a damn attorney firm, a 10% pay raise when I'm over here, got called in early for 4 hours. I got to work Christmas. I can't even plan my wedding because we're short staffed and they mandate us to be here, right? I didn't get shit. And you guys are giving an attorney firm a 10% increase? Why'd you do that? I have to answer to that. So you know what I say? Bro, I voted no. I didn't do it, right? I'm with you on this. And if those other guys can look that guy in the eye and give him an honest answer of why they did it, they can be accountable for that.
Well, I'm going to tell you the same thing that I told you when I found out that you did that. First of all, I think it's very commendable that you do that. I think that that's a good thing. I feel like it gives those people that you talk to and that you're around a chance to feel like, oh my God, this, like they said, nobody's ever came in here and done this before. That's a big thing. And then I said, like, so what are you going to do with all that information they tell you? Are you going to go in and tell the council people, your fellow, cohorts that are going to sit there and not really give a damn? Or are you going to tell them they need to go in and do it? And you might get 1 or 2 of them that do it. But besides that, they're not going to, it's not going to affect how they vote or anything. It's just so sad that so few people do that. Like I see that's something like Troy Ingram would do, I feel like, quite honestly, I feel something like Jeff Robinson would have done, but I don't, a lot of people, I feel like Matt Kantz would do it.
Well, you know what? They may have not have known they could have done it, because
And that might very well be. That's
so
weird, but I mean,
I promised those guys at the jail I'm going to go talk to my council members and I'm going to encourage them to come back here. When I did this 2 years ago, a lot of people don't know this, but when I first got elected, I went and met with every single department head in the entire county. I met with everybody. I went and did ride along in the snowplow trucks during a blizzard. I rode with the sheriff's department in the middle of the night, and I went to the jail. And I did those things because I didn't know what the hell I was getting into. These council members weren't eager to take me under their wing and teach me the ropes and tell me what I was doing. So I felt to be the best council member I could be, I wanted to go to these departments, see the people, see their workspace, find out what their concerns are. That way, when I'm up in that seat and I'm making decisions, I can do. I always ask them, "What do you need from me? How can I be an ally to you?" I'll give you an example. My first time at the jail, I was there, and the guys was complaining that their radios didn't work. If you were on one side of the facility and you radioed me, they couldn't hear it, right? So 2-3 months later, and this wasn't long after it opened.
Pause
right?
real quick. You see what's on the screen?
Oh yeah, no, I see on a quarter of my
Lakers win.
I had to win by 2. They won by 3, so I got lucked out. I won 400.
So all right, go ahead. Sorry.
So thank you for update. But so they come to the council meeting a couple months later. Hey, we need 30,000 for radios or whatever. A couple of the old timers, Quaker Bush, and them been there 20 years. They're giving them grief about it. And I said, look, I can vouch for this. I was there. I seen it.
Yeah.
I seen their radios not work. And the only thing, because every department, not every department, but 80% of the departments told me, I've been here 15 years, no council members ever come in here. The only thing I can think of is half of that council when I got there had been there 20 years each person.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of is they kind of probably felt that they already kind of had an understanding and they didn't need to do it. I was acknowledging I didn't know shit. I needed to go learn, right? So I'm optimistic that my current council, who are now all new, Eugene, Matt, Dan, even Bill, Jim, they've never done this before. So I'm optimistic that if I pull them aside one-on-one and tell them about some of these things and they realize, oh, I can go do that, then hopefully they'll do that and they'll go listen to these people and hear these people's concerns as well. And then when it comes time for us to vote, it won't just be me saying, look, this is a real need. They need it. I was there. Then I can have Matt say, yeah, I seen it too. Eugene can say, I also seen it. And we can actually do something to help them. So I'll do what I can.
I can respect that. I can respect that outlook. And I like that you've been in here for like 4 years, but you still not lost that like hopefulness of it. So I can respect that, and hopefully that happens. And you got some people on there that I would say would probably take them up. If for nothing else, they just kind of like to do it, But that's a pretty interesting take on things. I hope they do that. I mean, it's horrible, for that that corrections officer or the guy on the street or, somebody, working a job like that to sit in there and think like, damn, they just gave the attorney, his firm a 10% raise. Are you kidding me? He's sitting in there and I know he's working more than the 1 day a month, but it's like, dude, their meetings last 2 hours and,
Right. Well, and let's be clear. If you work in the clerk's office and me and you work in there and I call in, it doesn't affect your day, right? You go about your day. We'll see Ryan tomorrow. At the correctional officers, if somebody calls in, those people get called in 4 hours early. They get told an hour before they go home, hey, you got to stay 4 hours late.
Yeah.
So there's none of this calling your wife, hey, honey, I'm off in an hour. I'll swing by and get this, because they'll come up to you and go, bro, you're staying another 4 hours.
Another 4 hours.
Got to. It's mandatory. Nothing you can do about it.
Mandatory overtime.
So they have a totally different responsibility than what some of these other offices have. So it's apples and oranges. You can't compare them. And as far as getting involved, hell, our chief deputy Jeff Stanley called me one day. He was like, "Hey, we're going to do a raid, serve a search warrant. You want to come?" I was like, "Hell yeah, I want to come." So he came to my job. This is when I was working at Progress Rail, supervisor. I told him, I was like, "Hey, I'll be back in about an hour. I gotta go." And he picked me up. We went and served a search warrant. I stayed in the truck as they did it, but it was badass. It was super cool. And
It-
I was sitting there thinking, man, these guys are missing out if they're not checking these stuff out.
yeah,
I'm going to do
yeah.
a ride along here coming up in a couple days. Do a ride along with the sheriff's department, and it's
I would highly
available.
recommend anybody to go
Yeah.
do it. It
It's a
could
lot
be
of fun.
life-altering. Yeah, it is a lot of fun.
But hey, it's a lot of fun. But in my case, when I was I do 3 or 4 people in there, and 2 of them was in there the last time I was there.
Yeah.
So a funny story. We're up in the control room, and it's a wheel and spoke design. So you're in the middle, and then there's pods out every direction, like slices of pie. And you can see there's big windows, and there's these women's dorm, and they've got these doors that you lower to, change the remote or change the TV channel, or if they need to shoot pepper balls down in. And the guy's showing me how to open the door to show me how he controls all the TVs. And this girl turns around and she's like, "F you guys," right? And he's like, "That girl has flipped us off," and I'm like, "I know that chick. That's my best friend's sister." True story, man. Yeah, true story. Yeah,
Ryan's
and she
just
was
a
in there
man of
last
the
time.
people.
Hey, yeah, for real. I am the closest thing to you and your next door neighbor that you're gonna see. I'm telling you, there's no other elected official that's just like you guys as I am. I promise you. I'm not saying you guys all go to jail, but you know what I mean.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Well, let me see here. I'll get ready to wrap it up with you, but we got one question here. This first came in right early on, but I think it is a pretty important question.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. We didn't really do too many questions. I'm glad you're asking some.
Alva said, "What about the computers for the probation officers so they can have them in court because of the ones they have are too slow, but we can send them to other departments?" You know what he's talking about?
Mm-hmm.
What happened with that?
So basically, again, end of life, Emily's taking her excess money that she has, and she's requesting to purchase 10 laptops or whatever it may have been, and it's for the probation officers or the Republic. I can't remember exactly what it was. Alva, it might have been probation officers, but in court, I have a 10-year-old laptop. I could sit here and let my dial-up take forever to load.
Yeah.
Everything, but in court, they have to be. Remember what I said earlier? We're a government. We have to be world class. We have to have world-class facilities, world-class equipment. And what you and I may not think that a laptop 3 years is, I think I got another 3 years out of it. But in this world, when they're using them repeatedly in a courtroom where everything has to be like that, they have to be up to date. So what she's referencing is we appropriated the money. We transferred the money to purchase the new laptops. Question was asked. I think I even asked the question, what do you do with the old laptops? What do? Do you sell them? Do you put them on eBay? What do you do with them? Because 3-year-old laptop is better than one I got, right? And and she said that what she tries to do is she gets with IT and reaches out to see if there's any other departments who maybe speed isn't such a critical function of their needs, right? That they could then use those laptops. You see what I'm saying? It may not be efficient for the courts, but it might work just fine in the recorder's office. You see what I'm saying? So that was the idea. We're going to give you guys these hand-me-downs so you don't have to spend money.
So
that's what that was.
To Alva's second part of that question, then it just seems if they're fast enough for another department, why couldn't they be fast enough for the court? But obviously, with the court, specifically when you got Mondays and you're going through initial hearings and you're just reeling people off, that
you got to think
pop up quick,
right. Well, with court, right, you're pulling up. And that's a great question, right? But you got to understand the concept behind it. In court, you're pulling up databases, right? Yeah. You're pulling up Christopher Bilbrey. Yep. Oh, boom, here's his record, whatever. Ryan Webb, here's his record. And there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people in there. Whereas in the recorder's office, I might just be needing it for Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not pulling up databases. So the speed's not as necessary. So
yeah. You could plug it in and turn it on. And leave it on a desk and just leave it up and open at that spreadsheet. Whereas in court, you've got all these different public defenders. They're coming in, shutting it down, going to another court, doing all this other stuff. So that's I could see the difference there and why that's a thing. And see all that. Well,
it might not work. You know, when
Yeah.
I asked her that, she said, I tried to.
yeah, right.
It may not be something they can pass on. You know?
Right. That's interesting. Lenny said, please tell me this guy doesn't have his name on his coat. Mine is on the hook by the door.
I don't wear a coat. Who wears a coat?
You're shit. Lenny's from across the pond. He's in Scotland. So,
oh, yes, Lenny.
know.
Lenny, and I don't know if you pay much attention to Lenny, but not very many people know me around here. So I want to make sure that when they see me, they know who I am.
Lenny knows who you are.
No, listen, this is a no shitter. What I do this because I want to make it absolutely clear who I am. So whether you like me or if you don't like me, you don't have any excuses. If you want to come up and say something to me, ask me a question, you can see me. There he is. He's got his name on his shirt. And hey, I think you're an asshole, or hey, I support what you do. I was in this is truth. I was in Champaign, Illinois today, and the guy recognized me, and because I had on my Trump hat, and he starts saying, he says, nice hat. I get that about 10 times a day. And he goes, man, you look really familiar. I know you from somewhere. And then it hit him, and he remembered he knew me from being on TV and stuff. And he goes, don't go nowhere. I got something for you. And he goes and he brings me out this big old bag of like, he owned a business. I was delivering to him, and he must have been giving them out to his customers because he had his company logo on it. And he gave me this big old bag of like white chocolate covered pretzels or whatever. so every now and then people will see me, but I want them to make sure that they know exactly what they're talking to. So
we don't got to get into it, but I heard that you had some fans that met you the other day that really wanted to talk to you too. They're like chasing you down and everything.
Well, you know how that went. Let's just say when I tell you guys, I told the council members that too. They were like jaws dropped. They're like, what? I was like, yeah. Without
home, they're like, listen to what happened to Ryan.
Listen, when he says I'm a man of the people and I'm more like you people, then you would realize.
Would never believe it.
Yeah.
That is a true statement. A couple people have asked, do you have, listen, so there's a couple people that ask about like shirts or whatever. I mean, have you made a decision yet on what are you doing? Are you going to be running for a new election? Are you running for re-election? Have you made that decision or announcement yet?
I've been flirting with the idea of running for commissioner, right? And I've made no secrets about that. My goal was to I'd have to run against Sherry, right? Because the way it works with commissioners, you got to live in the district. Yeah. My goal was to wait till Sherry's done. But I've kind of really been frustrated with some of the things Sherry's been doing too. I don't think Sherry's vocal enough. So I go back and forth that waiver. Some days I say, you know what, I think I'm going to run for commissioner. And other days say, you know what, I'll probably just run for re-election on the county council. So I've not 100% made my mind up yet. I don't know. I'll probably end up just running for county council, but I'm going to leave that door open that I may run for commissioner. You know?
There's definitely.
If Sherry wasn't running, I'd definitely run. And if I was in one of the other guys' district, I'd definitely run.
Yeah, there's definitely nothing wrong with that. To show everybody, for those of you that are from Delaware County, what we're working with here. Basically what we're looking at here on the map, this is the Delaware County Council District, is Council District 1. Basically, it goes clockwise from southwest around. So 1, 2, oh, weird. No, it doesn't. It's 1 is southwest, 2 is northwest, 3 is then southeast, and 4 is northeast. That's the council districts. But then Ryan is at large, so he's council wide. That's the council. And the council seats that are up this time are the at-large seats. So there's 3 of them. It's Ryan's seat, Whitehead's seat, and Piper's seat. So that's the counselors that'll be up for election this time. But then in the commissioner's race, here are the commissioner's races. And damn it, I don't know why that gets so crazy like that. The 2 commissioners' races that are up are basically the west side. So District 2 is Washington Township, and Harrison Township, and then part of Muncie over here, as well as down in here to this. And then District 1 is this green. That's James King. So if there's anybody out there that wants to run in any of those districts, listen, I want to tell everybody, I just looked at the calendar today. Wednesday, January 10th is the first day that someone can file, and the deadline is noon on Friday, February 9th. So you've got a month period to file from Wednesday, January 10th to February 9th at noon that you can file to run for something in Delaware County or wherever in Indiana. And I will tell everybody, I am not going to make this mistake again. On the 9th, I will put in a request for everybody's paperwork, and we will go through it all. And that way, if there's anybody like Belinda Munson that's not turned in their Can 12, we will absolutely challenge their ass. And the election board will do the right thing, or we will make them do the right thing this time. We won't get caught off guard. And I don't pity fart around with that. I don't like to do that, other than because of what they did to Troy. If that's how they're going to play, then that's how we're going to play. So we're gonna do that.
I look for something like that too.
King. My name is Dave Williams. Dave, hey, you got from the 10th of January until the 9th of February to put your name in the hat. And then the other thing, voters registration is open. You can register to vote. If you have not been registered, it's down below. Kate's put it down below. You can do all of that stuff. It's www.indianavoters.com. Again, that's www.indianavoters.com. So, well, I hope when you do announce that you will come on and announce, give us a shot to tell the people. Obviously, you can do your thing, but I would definitely like to get that out. Whatever you decide to do, whenever you do that. Is there anything that we haven't talked about, or anything that you would like to discuss before we roll out?
Well, I would absolutely love to announce when I do that. Yeah, I'll reach out to you. But I just want to say a couple things based off of what you just said. So, if I got people support me, I got people that don't support me. If you're someone who supports me, listen, they do things dirty here in Delaware County, right? They play for keeps. Y'all saw what happened to Troy. You've seen what they did to my wife. You've seen what they've done on both sides, Democrats and Republicans.
Yes.
They put 5 times the budget in this year to defend themselves on legal services for election challenges than they had last year. So that gets me a little bit concerned of why are we putting up a war chest to prepare for legal defenses, right? That could just be me not trusting, because I don't trust nothing. I got in trouble by the party chairman one time for saying that I didn't trust all the elected officials and department heads when they're asking us for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they lost their damn minds over it. You'd have thought I called their mom names or something, but to me, like, well, yeah, I mean, what do you mean? Of course I don't try. I don't know. It is what it is. That's what humans do. They lie, they omit things, and especially when they're asking for hundreds of thousands of dollars. But so we've got supporters and we've got haters, and that's fine to have both. But listen, it's not enough to be a supporter. I love you, supporters. I appreciate you, supporters. I need you to vote. You can support me till you're blue in the face. Doesn't mean anything if you don't go vote. You gotta go vote. We just saw with Brad Marshall lost by 3 votes or whatever it was. He had the support, but they didn't go vote, right? You can have all the support in the world. If they're not going to go vote for you, it doesn't matter. So if you're one of those people who do support me, I'm urging you to vote in the primary. A lot of people only vote in the November election. They don't vote in the primary. Primary this year, I think it's in May. That's where the action's at. That's when when you get to November and you're upset, you go, we don't have any good candidates to choose from. We've only got these 2 candidates. That's because the good candidates got taken out in the primary when you didn't go vote. You have to go vote. That's when you got those people that you would want to support, right? I'm going to tell you straight up. The primary is where they're going to try to take me out. I already know this.
Yeah.
So if you're somebody who supports me, I need you to show up in the primary, flat out. Second part of that is, if you want to get involved, we need as many people to run as possible for county offices, whether it be commissioner, auditor, treasurer, all these different things, because, well, treasurer is not up for, but you know what I'm getting at. All the open positions run. Because if there's contested races in the primary, people will come out and vote.
Yes.
If there's not contested, people are like, I'm not going to waste my time with it because that guy's going to get in anyway, or that girl's going to get in anyway. So we need to have contested races, all right? Even if you don't think you can win, you're doing a lot just by contesting the race, because you're gonna get 10, 20% of the people who come out who wouldn't have come out just because they feel like they have to make a choice, okay? The other thing is, we haven't talked much about it, but this is the time, if you're a Republican, I know not everybody watches the shows, Republicans, this is when we pick our precinct committee people this election coming up, right? This is critical. This is important. I didn't know much about it when I got involved last time. I've since learned it's a very, very important position, right? You, anyone can run for precinct committee person. You need to find out what precinct you live in, and you need to put your name on the ballot to run for precinct committee person. And I'm going to tell you why. Even if you don't win, doesn't matter. Basically, I would say 60, 70% of those seats, no one even runs for, right? So if you've got 50 seats and let's say 30 of them, nobody signs up for, right? The party chairman then gets to appoint his friends and family and cronies and everybody who's loyal to him to fill those seats. They don't even have to live in that precinct, right? Only if no one runs. Well, when it comes time to vote for the party chairman, who do you think casts the votes? The precinct committeeman, right? Who are they going to vote for? Well, the guy's only going to pick people who are loyal to him. That's how we get stuck with the same chairman over and over and over. I've not made no secret of my frustrations with our current chairman. That's one thing I'll say about the Democrats. 2 years ago, whatever, they ran a ton of people for precinct committeemen, and they won a lot of seats. They're slowly wrestling their party back and putting it in the hands of the people instead of the few the powerful few who control everything. The people are slowly taking it back, and they've done it by winning precinct committee spots. So I'm going to encourage you to tell everyone you know, and I'm going to encourage you to do it yourself too. Sign up to be a precinct committeeman. It's very simple. You don't have to do a ton of stuff. It's pretty much just educate voters in your district. If they ask, where's my poll? What's the deadline? It's pretty hands off, right? Anyone can do it. But more importantly, it's running defense. It's running defense so the chairman can't appoint whoever they want. So I just wanted to mention that and make sure that people understood how important that was.
We've talked about it a little bit on here, but as we get closer in, and definitely when we get in the period between January 10th and February 9th, I will go over again the importance of the precinct chairs and the vice chairs. They're both very important positions. At the same time, they're one of the most boring positions and one of the most exciting. I mean, if you look at Muncie city government and Delaware County government, between city and county in the last 4 years, the precinct committee people of both Republican and Democrat parties have played a major role, because we had, 5 councilmen leave. We've had several different people in either because of deaths or people leaving or whatever for other reasons, flip-flopping around. They've played a big role. So precinct committee people, it's boring, but it's also exciting. You don't get paid anything, but it's very important. It's very easy, and at the same time, it's very important. I mean, it's a very important position.
Right. Well, so you say big role. when
Yeah.
you say they played a big role, it's important people know they chose the council members.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So when he says big role, it's a big role because if I something happened and I step down tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
The voters in the city or the county don't choose my replacement. You
Yeah.
know who does? The precinct committee people. So if there's only like 5 people in that district, 5 precinct committees, 5 people make the choice.
5 people make a decision.
It could be you and your 3 or 4 friends who make that choice. You have
Yeah.
that much power to choose who the next council member is, right? It really could be a powerful position.
It really is, because if you think about this, if you're the precinct committee people that's appointing, say God forbid happen, and you had a commissioner pass away. I wasn't even talking about Delaware County. Say you're in Scottville, wherever, and you had a commissioner pass away, and you had one move. The wife retired and they moved to Florida, and the precinct committee people were able to appoint 2 commissioners. You're basically now have the power of the county. Those are powerful people and powerful positions to have. And I'm not trying to talk people and being like, look, you'll have all this power. I'm wanting regular, normal human citizens that are Hoosiers to do this, so they will do it right, because we need people to be in there to do it right, because these caucuses have been ran like a joke. They're not doing it that's what's best for the city. They're doing it on what's best for the party or what's best for this politician or this politician. So we need good people in there so that we can have, if the citizens don't get a chance to vote for those people, we need the very best precinct committee people so it can be the best vote possible, I guess.
Yeah, if I could also mention, I know we're probably going to wrap this up in
you're
closing.
fine. You're good.
One of the things that was so busy at the council meeting was we had a lot of solar folks there, right?
Oh yeah.
And somebody asked me this. I think it was Star Press guy, but there's a little bit of confusion on when. I made the motion to send the abatements back to the tax abatement committee.
Yeah.
That motion passed, and for us as a council to have a special hearing. Or a regular hearing to discuss rescinding the abatements. Well, Bill Hughes, Councilman Hughes, is the president of the abatement committee, and he announced that they do have a date. They're going to do it. He said he didn't give us the exact date. He said early January. They're going to be early January, right? And I don't know if that's a public thing where people could come or if they're just going to meet. I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of ignorant to that. I should probably know that, but I'm not quite sure. It's never really come up before, but they're going to meet at that. And I kind of hammered down and said, I want to know when we come to our January meeting, are we going to be ready to discuss this? And the response I got from Bill was, I would think that's what we're going to be doing. So my understanding when we come to the January 24th meeting is that the abatement committee will have met. They will have discussed the information. They will have made their recommendation. We would have reached out to the solar companies and informed them they need to be at this meeting to communicate to us their desires, their plans, things. And that my understanding is we're going to have a conversation and possibly a vote about maybe rescinding these abatements. So after this council meeting, I talked to several solar people, and they said that what's the deal? And I told them, look, you guys all need to come to this January meeting. This is the meeting you need to come to. So if you know someone's in opposition to solar, or if you're in support of solar, or you just like to watch some good action, that's going to be the meeting to do it, right? That'll be the meeting where welcome to the show. So we're gonna discuss that there, reach out and let everybody know. I was mentioning that at the end. I got interrupted a little bit in my final speech. I was kind of lamenting the fact that our Secretary of State, Diego Morales, is challenging the judge's ruling that threw out and ruled unconstitutional the law that states you have to vote in 2 primaries previous to you running for office. That's nothing but gatekeeper politics. It's bull crap. We need to make it easier on people to run, not make it harder on them to run. I kind of lost my train of thought in there because one of the guys in the audience who was passionate about solar kind of interrupted me because they wanted to get their statement out. And when that happened, I kind of lost where I was going with it. But hopefully they have that resolved before we have the primary come up. So any of you guys who are considering running are not affected by that particular law being in limbo as far as having to, vote in your previous two primaries. The way it used to be is you just had to, the last time you voted, not the last time, but the last time you voted, whatever primary you voted in, that's the side you have to run on.
Yeah.
Or you have to get permission from the opposing chairman, which you'll never get. So you'll have to do it on the side that you voted in. And then the last thing I'll say is, I appreciate all your guys' love and support, but I'm going to ask you for your prayers and your thoughts. Taking my wife in for follow-up surgery tomorrow. She had shoulder on her surgery the night before our budget meeting started.
Yeah.
So I was taking care of her that entire week. We'd have 12, 14-hour meetings.
That.
Then I go home, take care of my wife who couldn't do anything for herself. Well, her arm is not healed the way it was supposed to.
Really?
So we're going back in there tomorrow to see what they can do with that. So
what did she have done?
She had a rotator cuff surgery. She got injured at work at the hospital. Yeah.
Who was her doctor?
Honestly, I'm not 100% sure.
Waterman?
They think she's not got a range of motion, like she can't put her arm above her head. They think her scar tissue's built up and it's preventing her range of motion. So they're going to put her out, and then they're going to mechanically maneuver her arm, which is a fancy way of saying we're going to twist the shit out of your arm because you can't do it when you're awake because it hurts so bad. And they're hoping to break down that scar tissue. And they said there's a slight risk we might fracture your shoulder. Ain't no big deal.
You're gonna wake up and be the rookie of the year?
Yes, dude. And I told her, I said, and then they said if they can't do that, then they're going to open her up and clean up that scar tissue. But we're going on a cruise in 3 weeks, and I told her, I said, when you did that before, you couldn't sleep in the bed for 6 weeks. You had to sleep in the recliner. I said, we don't have no damn recliner in our cruise cabin. You're going to be uncomfortable. But it couldn't be rescheduled, so tomorrow's the day, and we're going to take the end. And
I'll definitely.
we're going to ask the Lord to watch over us and look out for us, and hopefully we come through it, come out the other side on the way to recovery, and she's healed and good to go.
Well, definitely. What time are you doing that?
About 6 in the morning, 5:30, 6 a.m. I'll be up there.
Keep me posted on that, man. Let me know. Yep. That's I hate to hear that, and hopefully everything will go all right, and the recovery won't be as bad this time around. You guys have a good cruise. So
what we're hoping for.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, definitely keep me posted. I appreciate you coming on and talking with us, and we'll have you on again here soon.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys all tuning in and asking me your questions. If you didn't get a chance to ask, or maybe you haven't thought of something yet, you guys can all reach out to me at any time. You can message me. You can call me. My number is 765-808-2385. I'm the most accessible elected official in Delaware County or Muncie. I answer every phone call, every email. Reach out.
Say that number again.
765-808-2385.
2385.
Take all phone calls, all emails. Yep.
He's obviously on Facebook. He's on Twitter.
No.
Ryan Webb, Councilor Ryan Webb. It's on there. Find it. You can find him. Sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty easy to reach. Pretty easy to reach. So even if we disagree, I have conversations with people all the time that we disagree with. I take all calls. Calls. So.
Well, very good, sir. I appreciate it. We will see you guys on here, and thoughts and prayers to your wife and you guys tomorrow.
Appreciate it. You guys have a good evening, and everyone have a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Close to it.
I'm sure I'll talk to you before then, but yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, brother. Yep. Take care. Yep.
You guys take care.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Councilor Ryan Webb. I want to give him a big thanks for being on the show and talking about everything that occurred in yesterday's crazy council meeting. I do want to let you guys know we did not talk about it, but for those that care, the Delaware County, Muncie City Metropolitan Planning Commission tonight did vote to keep the setbacks at the 5,000 cap. Am I saying that right? they voted to keep. That's the only thing they could vote. So now that goes back to the commissioners Monday. It goes back to the commissioners Monday. And the commissioners will then vote on that. And we'll have a solar ordinance. For better or worse, it'll be what it'll be. I am just so glad I get to stop seeing Sue Arrington at these things. I've been seeing her over and over, and man, she looks like Fievel. I couldn't tell who I thought she was, but I finally today realized she looks like Fievel the mouse. So it is what it is. At least it's not 35. At least it's not 35,000. I think that was something else that they were doing, but yeah. Hey, at least no, this is the setbacks. Yeah, they took care of the 35,000 last meeting, but yes. So that's that. Now we'll be looking. Oh, while Ryan was talking, I did send an email to Councilor Bill Hughes to ask him if the tax abatement committee meeting is open to the public. I seem to think that it is, and I will try to fight them on this. I'll find out. I'll talk to Luke Britt. Also, just for those people that are here that might be from Newcastle, or for the Newcastle people that might watch this, Henry County people, a little birdie put something in my ear, and I have sent a records request asking for 911 tape of an incident reference Sproles from Newcastle. So I sent that in tonight. They should get it tomorrow, and I should be getting that soon because Henry County turns that around pretty quickly. So we might have some interesting Sproles news here soon. I can tell you this. I've been saying this for a while, but because it's Henry County, I can tell you one way or another, we're going to be talking about John Mark here very soon, and it's going to be weird. So be on the lookout for that. Tonight is Wednesday. That means tomorrow night is Thursday. It's Thursday again already. Holy crap. Tune in here tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern and prepare yourselves for another amazing show. Thank each and every one of you. Hey, if it's your bag, say a prayer for Councilman Webb's wife and his family. Maybe say a prayer for mine as well, not because of any other reason than we just need it. Peace, love, and thoughts and prayers to each and every one of you. God bless all of you. We will see you tomorrow. Oh, this is an old hoodie. This one's one of the old hoodies. I changed right before Webb came on. You guys didn't see it, though. All right, good night. Take care. God bless. Have a good evening. Take care. Goodbye. Thank you for the hoodies, everybody.
Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday.